The alleged circumstances of his death renewing calls at that ceremony and across the country for the passage of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Fellow Californian and now Vice President Kamala Harris co-authored the bill when she was a senator. A bill meant to serve as a check on police brutality in the wake of the police killing of George Floyd in Minnesota. He died after former officer Derek Chauvin knelt on his neck for more than 9 minutes as other now former officers watched. Congressman John Garamendi with me now live about why the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act stalled originally and what chance it may have now. Good morning to you.
Good to be with you. And it's really sad to be talking about another tragic incident, but we have to use this tragedy to pass the George Floyd Justice Act. It's all way past time. We can do it. We really can. There is some support among the some House Republicans and perhaps enough in the Senate. It's going to be a rough road, but we really must try.
So the president is meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus today to, quote, have a real conversation about police reform. Senate Republicans blocked the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which would remove the legal liability shield for individual officers known as qualified immunity. It would also restrict the use of deadly force by police to a choice of last resort. What chance do you see? You're saying we really can do it now. So what's giving you that hope at this moment?
Well, it's really the details of that qualified immunity. Qualified immunity could be you have immunity from whatever you do, or it could be much more definitive. You do not have immunity if you kill somebody. You do not have immunity if you use excessive force, and so on. So by very carefully writing what qualified immunity means and does not allow, then I think we can find a path forward. Just to push it aside and say that it's totally gone, but that won't fly. But a careful, useful definition taking into account what we have seen far too much across the United States. If we made that subject to a liability, then I think we can make it happen.
Are there provisions within the bill that you think might get through separately and maybe should be broken out so something gets done instead of the whole thing failing again?
Well, there may be a time for that. It's not that time now, but there are several different pieces in the legislation. Among those are funding for police, certain standards. Another piece of it has to do with the nationwide database of police officers that are just out of line, that have a terrible record, so they're not so able to go from one agency to another. There are other things that can be done. The chokehold is pretty much not being able to use the chokehold is pretty much standard across the nation, but that could be put in place. One thing to keep in mind is that this is federal legislation. The police are basically local agencies and subject to local city or county or state. In that regard, I believe that we should restrict funding to local police departments until they have a civilian review board in which incidents that are inappropriate are reviewed by a civilian review board. If they have one, then they have access to the federal money.
All righty, just quickly changing lanes here. Yesterday, Californian and new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, met with the president about the debt ceiling. June is coming. We've got stopgap measures in place that the Secretary says of the Treasury says will hold until then. Do you have a sense about movement on either side of that coming out of that meeting?
Well, we certainly are going to put together a budget and an appropriation. That's required by the Constitution and by the continued use of government, or the continued funding of government. And that's what the Republicans control in the House of Representatives. The debt limit is quite another matter. That's not tomorrow's spending. That's spending over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 decades. And we have to pay our bills that we've already spent the money for. So really what we need to do here is to put the debt limit aside. 3 times during the Trump administration, the debt limit was increased. When the Republicans were in power, when the Democrats were in power, it was never an issue. But now suddenly it's become an issue. Wrong, shouldn't happen. Get the debt limit out of the way. The Republicans do control the House of Representatives, budgeting and appropriations. And so if they want to make cuts, then they can go ahead and try to do it. Maybe they'll get support in their own team. Maybe they won't. Right now, their team is very, very badly fractured on what to do, because we challenged him. We said, hey, show us your budget. This is what the president said. Show us your appropriation. What is it that you really want to cut? You say you want to cut Social Security and Medicare? Really? Okay, put it on the table, and we'll see how that flies.
Congressman, we didn't get to classified documents in that entire scandal today, but we're going to have to put a pin in it in there. Of course, we'll have you back to discuss that. Thank you so much.